The app economy is expected to be worth $120 billion in 2019. Not bad for an industry that's only existed for just over a decade. The spread of smartphones is the reason that it took off, but the sustained growth comes from developing markets. By 2020, almost 75% of the global population will be connected through mobile phones, and developing markets will account for the largest share of that growth. In short, the app business is booming, and it looks like it will be for quite a while, but most apps are still free to download, so where's all the money coming from? A lot of the money-making strategies, sadly, require a bit of deception. Get folks invested in your game or let them have fun with it, but if they want another try, you're going to have to put some more change into it to have another go. The standard advice is, unless you are somehow getting people to pay up front, you have to get your users invested and interested in your app, and then figure out a way to charge for more of it or for a better version of it. But there are other approaches, and folks who've made a lot of money in other ways. Making an app is expensive. Let's figure out some ways to avoid going broke.
Monument Valley is a game about impossibility and illusion that we released for mobile phones in 2014.
And it was extremely well received.
Yeah, it was like a big surprise. Like I remember we were in our studio in Shoreditch in East London, and we just thought maybe like 1,000 people had play it.
Well, in total?
Yeah. Like
oh,
in
wow,
total, like,
okay.
Like we just had 8 people make it. And I think like at this point, that and the second game's about 200 million people. So yeah, crazy.
There's the idea of anchoring, that people are happy to pay $50 for a console game on release day, but won't pay 99 cents for something that's on a phone.
Yeah.
What was your strategy on sales?
You need to, obviously, the main kind of monetization methods for mobile games are that of a game being free or ad-supported, free with in-app purchases, or what used to be quite an old school way, like a normal game way, in which you pay for the game up front and then you don't worry.
which is it's reasonable on every other platform apart from this little thing.
I know, it's crazy. So people always ask, like, what is the difference between free and paid? Does that influence how you make a game? Because it undoubtedly does. And like my best way to describe it is, imagine you've got 2 rooms, right? And you've got the free room and you've got the paid room. So the paid room, all I've got to do is you buy a ticket to come in my room, and then once you're in, the only thing I've got to do is make sure you enjoy yourself. You can leave after 5 minutes, you can stay the night, whatever you want. I'm just going to make sure this is an amazing experience for you. The other room is the free room, where you don't have to buy a ticket to come in. But then once you're in my room, my primary objective is to keep you in that room, no matter what. With distracting you, with offering you other things. So it fundamentally changes how you go about designing stuff. So for us, I guess, respecting people's time, having something they can finish, concentrating on the beauty and the craft of something, and showing that that kind of entertainment has value is kind of important to us.
Which brings me to piracy, because I know you've talked about that in the annual posts that the company puts out. How big a problem is app piracy on paid stuff?
It's definitely a big factor. And I think there's only so much you can do for it. It's a fight you're never going to win. If you look at any other piece of media, any kind of fight against piracy has never been won by the content creators. The only way it ever gets solved is by creating a business model and an offering that people find it more painful to go and pirate it. So if you think about music now, music has come against this subscription model where people just can't be bothered to go and like open themselves up to spyware and go and download illegal tracks when they can just pay 10 quid a month and, you know.
Before the cameras rolled, you described Monument Valley as a unicorn. And clearly it's at the end of this kind of power law distribution that we've got on how well apps will do. Do you think there are lessons that smaller developers and folks starting out now can take from that, other than make something really, really good and be lucky?
I always think about, yes, luck is involved in everything anyone ever does, but you can take certain steps to kind of stack the deck in your favour. So for me, it's always about not necessarily being so introverted with the thing that you make. Like, don't be making something just for yourself, because that's not a good business model. Like, what you should be doing is like, what does it look like people want? What does it look like people are crying out for? What are people complaining about, and how can I address that? They're not necessarily technical or business things, but it's like, what need are you addressing, as opposed to just being quite egocentric with creation? That would be my biggest piece of advice. Otherwise, you'll just have yourself play the game, and then you never keep a business open.
The public has decided that they expect apps to be free. or at least close to it. And the reality is you're going to have to work hard to try and make any money from this thing. And you'll have to figure out which strategy works best for the app that you've created. So, here are your options. Just charge money for it, make the basic version free but offer in-app purchases to unlock the full thing, stick adverts in it, or charge a subscription. And if you're like me, there is also some value in releasing something for free because it helps your brand. For my app, I'm not sure which of those options could work, if any. I could go with in-app purchases and charge my users after the first few facts or after the first fact of the day. Or I could go with in-app advertising and have products or companies pay to have their ads show up next to the facts. That's what a lot of location-based apps do, but it's a privacy nightmare. Or I could go for a subscription-based model. Users would subscribe to get better and more fun facts, but I don't know how well that would work either. There isn't enough content that my app offers to sell a subscription model well. And adding all that code, handling all the overheads is expensive in itself. As soon as you have payments or subscriptions, as soon as you're taking money, your customer support becomes a lot more complicated and a lot more important. I am tempted to just make this thing a premium app. People pay once to download the app and then it's free to use. And just for the fun of it, I could put it on the market for $100 and see if anyone goes for it. No. Even as a joke, I cannot bring myself to do that. Someone might actually buy it, and I just couldn't live with that. Did you find when you went to a subscription model that the people who had bought the app, what they thought was outright at the start, were angry about that?
People were really angry. Whenever you change anything to do with money, people got so angry when we went to subscription. And we were really careful about how we did it. So when we went there, we said, okay, if you bought the app, you're not going to lose any content at all. Like you get to keep everything that you paid for. And in fact, for the rest of time, you're going to have a discount on subscription for content. And so we thought, like, this is a great deal. And of course, people were really, really upset because I mean, even now, there's still a lot of people who just viscerally don't like the idea of a subscription. They want to own software. And I think for various reasons, that's not how software works anymore.
Yeah, I'm getting increasingly annoyed. At the point where I had to change my Adobe subscription from just buying the suite to, no, every single month something has to leave my account for this. I really don't like it.
So I think when you have to make a change like that, which you might think is really, we thought were justified, and I see this all the time, you just need to be really clear in communicating with the community. And also, we told people, look, if you have a problem, just email us, and I personally, like the CEO of the company, will reply, and I will tell you like what we're going to do about it. And so, there are, unless you've got like millions of players, you can actually do this because most people just don't care.
Did you find that people were cloning the idea and not necessarily infringing copyright or pirating it, but doing the thing where it is just a poor imitation cheaper?
I used to get worried about it, yeah. But now it's sort of stopped happening, actually. Now people stop doing it because people realize that the apps aren't, the gold rush has kind of stopped. I have to say, we just didn't really do anything. And that's partly because they never became really successful. I think if they became successful, we would have to think about, do we need to do something about our pricing? Do we need to, change our content? And I think in some ways, look, if there was a competitor that people loved even more and it had a type of gameplay or a type of sort of, interaction that was better than what we had, then we might have copied that. That's good competition.
Users will pay for what they value most about an app. If it's a productivity tool or a time saver, then you might be able to sell it as a paid app. If you're giving them a steady stream of valuable content, then you'll probably be better with a subscription model. And if your app is purely entertainment, then advertising or in-app purchases might be the best option. And have a look at what your competitors are doing. Second, freemium. It is by far the most popular monetization strategy. It is very hard to compete with apps that are free, so freemium is the most common option. With this model, the app is free for users to download and try, but there are additional tiers, features, or incentives within the app that users can choose to pay for. Back when I was a kid, we called that shareware, but sure, whatever, freemium it is. Lastly, piracy. It's an inescapable part of publishing your app. There is no real way to stop it short of continually hunting down pirated copies. So it may be easier to accept now that your app might be pirated and that there will be little or nothing that you can do about it. It's easier than it used to be, at least. If your app uses cloud services, you might be able to limit the functionality in pirated versions. Next time, how to make sure your app is not evil.